give me a sign. Okay. Well, welcome to people online. Welcome to our independent festivals, Born to be Wide. We've got the in-person audience here at Leith Arches, and for the rest of you, put something in and let us know where you're watching from. There's a very illustrious panel tonight who will all be introducing themselves in a minute. We're going to cover a wide range of different things from how the festival started, give you a bit of an overview of what they program and how they program it, who's responsible, what sort of acts they're looking for, and really what you could expect if you go to the festival. And of course, festivals have had a lot of challenges, especially since the pandemic, so we'll be looking at how they managed to stay afloat as well. So I think without further ado, I'm going to start with Katch, who is, I think, the only person that's ever done 2 of our festival panels in the history of Born to be Wide. So it was so good, I had to get her back 12 years later.
12 years later. So my name is Katch Holmes, and I organise a festival called Knockengorroch in Dumfries and Galloway. Some of you know it, and I can see a few of you who have been there and even played there in the audience, so that's great, thanks for that. We've been going since 1998, and we lay claim to being the first eclectic greenfield music festival in Scotland. And we feature a high proportion of traditional music acts, but also DJs, electronic acts, hybrid, fusion, and international roots music.
Megan.
Hi everyone, I'm Megan. I work for Deershed Festival. We're an 8,000 capacity music and arts festival based in North Yorkshire. We've been going since 2010. The kind of uniqueness of us is that we are a festival for music fans, but half of the audience are kids, under 16s. And I am the head of programming, so I book all the music and our wraparound arts program, and also do kind of production and operations as well.
Hello, I'm Michelle Shields from the HebCelt Festival. I'm the artist, programmer and board director. Has anyone heard of HebCelt? Thank you. We're into our 30th year next year. We're across 4 days in July, and just under 20,000 people attend across those 4 days. We're predominantly a Celtic music festival, but have been known to kind of expand on that slightly over the years and offer different genres of music to the audience as well. But we started off as a Celtic music festival, so we still celebrate that.
Chris.
My name is Chris Knight. I'm the co-founder and head programmer of the Kelburn Garden Party, founded in 2009. It takes place near Largs, a wonderful estate called Kelburn Estate. It was founded as, well, the original garden party was a celebration of the graffiti project, which many of you will know, which is the graffiti painting on the castle itself. We've grown slowly over the years. We're roughly 5,000 capacity just now, something like 14 stages, someone told me the other day. I can't quite believe it. We cover really all kinds of music. It's hard to pigeonhole. Our tagline is music, art and adventure, so art's a big part of it. As is nature and the place itself as well. So yeah, that's Kelburn.
Would you say that you have a founding ethos? Was there something that really, when you set up Kelburn, that you said we want to be a festival for a certain type of audience, or that's programming a certain type of event?
Not directly. I mean, it was founded on it was founded on an action, on an event, and that event was the graffiti project that I just mentioned there. The sort of audaciousness that David, who's my partner in the festival, who lives in Kelburn Castle, he is the heir to the land, and his sister Alice, in 2007, I think it was, they persuaded Historic Scotland to allow them to fly over Sao Paulo's best graffiti artists to paint the castle. And I think, and then deciding, we've done this, we better have a party to celebrate this fact. They got Samba Yabambo over, and I came on board to help, program that initial kind of party. when someone else dropped out, much to my good fortune. So it was really the action of doing that and then realizing that we'd done something and there was an energy about it, an excitement about it. So there was no plan behind it, and really the festival's just grown from that initial kind of audacious act, I would say.
Michelle, I mean, your festival is also in the shadow of a castle that was built with the ill-gotten gains of the opium trade, if I'm not mistaken. What was the founding ethos of HebCelt? Was there a certain thing that you or Caroline, the founder, were looking to do?
So HebCelt started as a group of friends who just thought, let's try and bring a music festival to our island. I don't think I mentioned it's in Stornoway in the Isle of Lewis. And it was just that. It was a group of friends that thought, let's see what happens. Let's try and organise a music festival. They were fortunate to get some local funding, and the rest is history.
Megan, what's Deershed's founding ideal?
So when Deershed started, it was co-founded by Kate and Oliver, who had a music background. They'd been back in 2010. There weren't festivals didn't have this inclusivity of families and kids. It was very much the kids are over in the corner, the families are over in the corner, and the music was kind of away from it all. So it was really about bringing. We always describe Deershed like a Pixar film. It's about music fans who bring their kids and they get to experience, a weekend of really good music. And we've just kind of developed that over the last 16 years and grown and been able to just develop it into kind of 4 music stages. And we have about 70 artists across the weekend, a big wraparound arts program. We have comedy, cabaret shows and talks. So it really started from a place where we wanted families to feel included and parents who had kids who were really into music and being able to see something over the weekend if they couldn't go during the year for gigs.
Do you have a school? I was reading something about a festival that has a school. They brought in teachers so the parents didn't get fined for taking their children out of school on the first couple of festival days.
Yes, I know that festival that does that. We do something a little bit different a few weeks before Deershed. Luckily, our dates work for some holidays, thank goodness.
Katch, I mean, you have kids at your festivals as well, but it's also founded as a family festival in the sense that it was you and your parents, right?
Yeah, so Knockengorroch was and still is a family festival, in that it was founded by my parents, who moved into the hills in the middle of nowhere in the 70s and decided to try and create some kind of utopia there, which we have to some degree succeeded in. It was always about place. It was always about the hills that it takes place in. It was about repopulating a land. It was about raising awareness of a beautiful part of Scotland that a lot of people don't actually know anything about. And then it was about celebrating the music that tells a story of the land and tells a story of the peoples that used to live in places like this, not just in Scotland, but all across the world. And then bringing that up to date, so bringing that up into the people that are telling the stories of the land and the streets in the cities. So we also program a lot of urban music alongside the folk and kind of more traditional stuff.
I mean, you've already touched on it a bit with the non-music activities at your respective festivals, but are there any other things that you haven't mentioned yet that are worth telling people about? Really, I mean, what can someone expect if they come to Knock, starting with you, Katch, and then just moving through everyone else?
So it's a journey to come to Knockengorroch. We are 4 miles from a public A road. So you drive along quite a few little roads up into the hills. So from the get-go, it's an experience that's maybe a bit out of the ordinary when you go to a lot of festivals. Because of where we are in the hills, we don't have so much fencing, for example, so you feel a lot freer when you're there, and it engenders a particular feeling in people of freedom. The location is so in a river valley, and I think the point is that there used to be a lot of villages all along that river valley, and of course now there's nothing, no people for miles and miles except for the festival. So it's like a lost village or a lost community, and we symbolically repopulate the land. So that's the special thing about, I think, us.
Megan, what would someone who's not been before, what could they expect when they go to Deershed? And actually, how do they get to Deershed?
Well, Deershed's in a beautiful park called Baldersby Park. It's got a huge lake in the middle of the park. It's very rural, and we kind of, I suppose, take over the farming land for those kind of that month of the year. And when people come, I always, when you work in festivals, you go to a lot of other festivals, and I always say that actually, when you come to Deershed, it's so chilled, and people, it's friendly, and there's no one being an arse to you. You can go to the bar and get a pint and go and watch your favourite band and go back to the place you were standing. It's just really good quality music, but there are kids everywhere. People do freak out at that, especially when they're, some people do book tickets for the lineup, and then they come and they're like, where are all these kids? Why is there so much straw? Where is, it is kind of madness on site as well. Very feral, very feral.
Michelle, are there any feral children running around HebCelt?
Yes, my own one included. So HebCelt is, as you said, situated in front of Lewis Castle in Stornoway, so we've got a huge number of local audience that come. But if you're travelling to HebCelt, you'd get just under a 3-hour ferry or a scheduled 1-hour flight from Glasgow or Edinburgh. The community really kind of hold us together at HebCelt. They're at our core, and when HebCelt comes to town, everyone knows about it. We're right in the town centre. We've got we're outdoor festival, but the stages are in tents because weather. We also have, and we are primarily a music festival, but we do have workshops, and we've got art installations and things like that as well. And we also do Gaelic language tasters, which I'm going to do with this audience right now. Are you up for that? It's World Gaelic Week, so it would be wrong if I didn't teach you some Gaelic words. So we'll start with one that everyone definitely knows. Can everyone say Falche? Which means welcome.
Falche.
Sláinte. Cheers. Now, Kjol.
Kjol.
Kjol. You guys are supposed to be doing it. Kjol. Use your microphones. And that means music. Dance, dancing, and finally Feish, which means festival, so there you go. So when you come to HebCelt, you can do a wee bit of Gaelic language taster as well.
How many people in the audience actually expected to get an impromptu Gaelic lesson this evening? That's great, first time we've ever had that. I think we'll maybe start incorporating that if we at Wide Days, if we get some overseas speakers as well. So see, there you go. You can go to Stornoway and get educated while you're at it. So, good shout.
And enjoy yourself with lots of great music.
Yes. And really good food, I remember. So, lots of things to like. So, tell me, or tell the audience rather, what non-musical things are there at Kelburn?
I mean, there's a lot. There's a lot at Kelburn. What we try and provide, or what we're aiming to do at Kelburn, well, apart from blow people's minds, is trying to create a sort of wraparound of cultural experience, or almost a psychedelic cultural experience, I guess. We're really trying to push the creative boundaries. Kelburn's about, I've referenced the castle and the graffiti project, and that as a starting point. It's about definitely about the visual as well as the sonics. So over the years, we've really pushed the what most people would call decor, artistic production, as we call it, because we really think it's such a central part of what we do, which is the stage designs, the art that happens between the stages, and really all, from the moment you arrive on site, there's just an explosion of art everywhere, and really that the sort of the thing that is manifested into is a project called the Neverending Glen, which if you've been to Kelburn, you'll know there's trails all up the glen. It is a glen. Kelburn Castle sits at the bottom of a valley, and in that glen there's miles of pathways. And over the years, we've added artworks and art installations, dotted around, and that project has grown and grown and grown. And now we have an artist residence program. We invite artists to come and stay on site for 8 weeks, and then 4 weeks before the event to actually conceive and collaborate and to create art. We actually, and then we give bursaries to people to come and create art and deliver it and put it up on site. So, and now there's something like 50 pieces, I think, of all multimedia, all sorts of stuff going up in the Glens. So that boundary between nature and art and music and performance is what we're trying to blur, you know, and it's really, you know, we call it
There
a
are
cultural
giant
safari.
trees
So.
as well. I mean, trees that are hundreds of years old. You know, in contrast, I guess, to Lewis, but it's well, there's a few trees in Stornoway, but I mean, generally, it's a spectacular landscape, but in a different way. So, I would recommend as well if you do go to any of these places to hang on an extra day or two and go and check them out. I could recommend that. I once wrote a piece for The Guardian about a music tour through Scotland. I ended up at HebCelt, which annoyed Katch. She wrote something rude on the comments page because I hadn't gone down to her neck of the woods. But anyway, that's another matter.
It wasn't on the map.
Yes. Well, I didn't make the map. Yeah, I just wrote the piece. But anyway, moving swiftly on. I mean, are there any other things that, you know, really from your approaches as festivals, you're not in the music sphere, but in terms of how you set it up, in terms of your approach to sustainability, or even in terms of the journey? I mean, obviously, you've got a relationship with CalMac that runs all the ferries over to Lewis. I mean, if someone's on that ferry, can they expect something special en route?
Yes. It depends. Pretty much most of the musicians do travel on that ferry, so sometimes they will strike up the tunes and it can be quite a lively crossing. Not so much on the way back. Everyone's sleeping on any bit of floor that they can find. But yeah.
Yeah, I just remember lots of really big German Runrig fans. Like huge and quite serious, staring ahead. But is there any sort of things around the bus to Knockengorroch Katch? I mean, is that a sedate affair, or does the party start when people get on that?
I've never been on that bus, so I can only imagine what it's like. But
What have you heard?
To be honest, I haven't heard personally anything. I'm sure I could dig around and find some stories if you really wanted.
I think the answer is take the bus when you go to Knock, and you'll find out.
Take the bus anyway, because it should work out cheaper, because we've deliberately done it so that it is cheaper to leave your car at home. We also do free children, by the way, so we know that families need to bring cars, and so the children are free. But we've deliberately kind of engineered it so that if you get a bus, it's a little bit cheaper than just being two people in a car, because obviously we're trying to dissuade people from using their cars, from driving from the central belt or wherever they're coming from. And also it takes quite a heavy toll on our site, because it is quite a small wee site up in the hills, and we'd much rather fill it with beautiful people and lots of art installations and musicians than cars. So yeah.
Megan, are there any forms of transport, public transport or organized transport for Deershed?
Because of our demographic, most families are coming in cars. Luckily, the train station is pretty close by. It's about a 12-minute drive to site. So we do put shuttle buses on, but it's an audience who bring their whole house with them to the site, so it's quite tricky to kind of manage that. And how do you look at sustainable ways of thinking about transport in different ways with that demographic? It's challenging.
Are there any things before we come onto the programming side of it? Are there any things that you've introduced or that you adopted early on when you with the festivals, or any things that you've pioneered, or where you're aware of being like among the first to actually do something?
So we're not pioneers in this, but we do sign up to Key Change, which, for anyone that doesn't know, that's ensuring gender balance on the stage. And we actually went back to before Key Change started, and we'd actually adhered to that for quite some years before it started. So we're really proud of that kind of fact that we are focused on having gender balance and also just equality on the stage. So we're not pioneers in it, but we are at the forefront of trying to deliver that to the audience.
Yeah, it's funny that as well. We managed it the year before Key Change was launched, but yeah, I think we are quite ahead of the curve on that in Scotland as a whole. Chris, was there anything like that?
I mean, yeah, we aren't signed up to Key Change, but certainly it's something that we've really tried to push on is the diversity and inclusion with the lineup. But I know you're going to get onto the pandemic pre and post at some point this evening, but obviously Me Too and what happened during the pandemic and all that obviously had a massive impact on everyone, and was people in the festival game and really people at all levels of society realised that things had changed after that. So we introduced a safer spaces policy, and we've really tried to step up our care of the audience and our watchfulness over what can happen on a festival site, in a tent, in a forest, what might have been passable or okay 5-10 years ago is definitely not anymore, so that's something we've really tried to switch on to,
Megan, are there any things that Deershed, I mean, obviously having children here we've got Belladrum that really pioneered the child-friendly or family-friendly festival concept, but it sounds like you are doing that in England before most people. Are there any other things that have been really pioneered by Deershed?
I suppose with being an independent festival, you can't afford to bring a lot of initiatives in from other companies, and that is something we've always. It's been a challenge because they cost a lot of money. So we've always thought, right, okay, we'll do it ourselves better. So we introduced reusable cup schemes, but then we also did it for hot cups. We kind of changed our initiatives with our food bank providers and used local and went Yorkshire and thought about Northern. I suppose in England, maybe a lot of companies do come from the south, and they don't actually, aren't based in the north, then you have to think about transport costs if you are working with anyone outside Yorkshire. So actually, we've just thought about, actually we can do it ourselves and we can do it better. Especially that can also come into kind of programming. We have a big skate park. We make the skate ramp ourselves. We have big giant cardboard cities, craziness, and feral farms out of straw. We just do things that are different. This year we're going to have a maze on site because we do a theme every year. As part of our programming, that will be a 50 meters squared maze made out of Harris fencing, which is what you use to make a festival, basically.
What's the theme then?
It's called Into the Labyrinth this year.
Right. Do you ever have themes at Knockengorroch?
Yes, we usually have a theme, but we're not quite sure what the theme is going to be this year because we're still debating it.
Do you want us to help you?
You can come up with suggestions if you wish. It's usually quite land related, as you might expect. We've had the birds and the bees. Because we were in a UNESCO Dark Skies designated park, we've had the stars as well, the dark skies. What else have we had?
The world record for unicorns.
Yes, we had the world record for the most people wearing unicorn horns. And we got 999 people wearing unicorn horns. But the problem was that the Guinness Book of Records have very, very strict criteria. And unfortunately, we hadn't done the exact right things that we had to do, so we never got registered in the Guinness Book of Records. But we know we broke the record.
Man, that makes me want to pour away my alcohol-free Guinness here in protest. Well, I think we should give Katch a round of applause for actually accomplishing this. And never mind the Guinness Book of Records. That's pretty impressive. So that if you have any ideas for afterwards, you can suggest them. Were there any things that you've pioneered with the festival or done that you were aware of being the first?
I doubt we're the first, but we currently have a partnership with another festival called the Green Gathering in Wales, and we started it last year and we're doing it again this year, and we're in different parts of the year. They're in August, we're in May, and they're in Wales and we're in Scotland, but we felt that there were a lot of commonalities in what we're doing, about land and sustainability and community. And so basically we help each other out, and we also offer ticket discounts. So if you have a ticket to Knockengorroch, you can get money off Green Gathering and vice versa. So it's the kind of thing that we're just sort of generally interested in doing, I think, because I guess we would like to think we're here for people and music, and maybe to try and make the world a better place and kind of get together with other events that are trying to do the same thing. It's very, mighty-minded, but yeah.
You know that thing where you hear of something for the first time and then suddenly it just reappears straight after. I met the guy from Green Gathering for the first time on Tuesday outside a pizza place in London, and then, as if by magic, they come up once more. So that's the various different elements of pioneering initiatives. Tell me about your programming. I mean, obviously, you have pretty eclectic programming. It's perhaps not like the sort of thing you're going to get at huge commercial festivals, but I would also argue that's an opportunity for people making interesting or different music, and also, I guess, an opportunity for people who want to see something that's a bit more varied and different. How would you characterize your booking policy, Chris? And are you the ultimate arbiter, or do you have other people that are programming as well?
To that last point, I am head of programming, but there's a team of us. There's a team of us it's an evolving team and a rotating team. So each year you've got some stages are programmed by, for example, Tala from the Skinny, who many people know. So they're a permanent programming partner. Other stages, I will invite curators from, whether it's a venue or a club night or a community, to come and take over a venue for a day, or even for a few hours. Kelburn, co-curation and connections with people who are doing good things in the community is really, really important to what we do. In terms of the actual overall ethos, Kelburn's a very site-specific place. We're not in a field, so we can't have that big main stage where you can have that £30,000 headline act. It's not possible, and that does give a lot of freedom in terms of what we can do. So it allows us to really go for more interesting and more sort of hand-picked sort of stuff without trying to chase those big names. And really, another big part of Kelburn is the club culture and the DJ culture. It's always been a part of what we do. David and I are avid fans of dancing and going out partying, we've taken a lot of care to bring along the Scottish club scene over the years, and work with promoters and curators who are doing good things in that scene. So that we've got a lot of dance stages dotted around. So that's a big part of what we do. Yeah.
Michelle, how would you describe your music policy?
I don't know if we've got a policy. Maybe we need to make one. But yeah, I am.
Yeah, no, that makes it sound like one of those things that you like, health and safety and your etc. Yeah. Your emergency terror policy or whatever.
It's a bit more fluid than that. Yeah. So kind of start at the top with the headliners. Once you get an idea of or secure at least one headliner, then I can start looking at kind of filling the slots. So we work with actually splendid events. Eddie Barca and helps me kind of broker some of those bigger deals with the headliners. But then ultimately it's myself for the rest of the programme. We listen to the audience actually. So we've got a huge amount of returning audience. Obviously, being on an island as well, a huge amount of our local community return every year. And we've got, people that come from America every year, that come from Australia, Korea, all over the world. So after you buy a ticket and after you attend the festival, we do a survey, and part of that survey is who would you like to see next year. So I collate that list and have a look and have a read, and I go through that. And then I've got a group of people that I rely on to, I listen to music, I go to different gigs, I'll maybe speak to somebody in the younger territory than me who's got their ear to the ground with some of the emerging talent. And yeah, it's just a whole host of different ways of trying to find up-and-coming bands, more established bands. We've got a submissions@HebCeltFest.com email address, which opens in September, and I go through every single one of those emails, of which there are many. Just always listening
What
to
would you
music.
be looking for in those emails? Are there certain things that you like to get sent, or certain ways you like to get sent stuff? I mean, I'm assuming you don't want like a 100 megabyte WAV file attached to it, but I mean, on the more sort of sensible note, is just like an EPK and a link to some SoundCloud or
Yeah,
streaming?
a link to the music is obviously very important because you want to hear what they sound like, and just kind of short and concise. And it's really hard to say this, but don't pester, don't then email again. I have seen your email. I will read it. You don't need to keep on, but I understand the reason that would happen as well. And then just follow through on your promises is another note to artists. So they will beg for a slot occasionally, and then you might book, and this doesn't happen very often, but you might book someone and then they don't do the 3 social media posts that you've agreed to, or they take a while to send their text back, so it works both ways. So it is a partnership when you book an artist, and just bear that in mind when you are looking for a gig as well. Just follow through on all your promises, and we'll do the same for you.
Yeah, we can come back to that in a bit more detail in terms of how to take advantage of an opportunity when it's offered to you as well, because I think that can be, like you say, it's a partnership in that respect. I mean, Megan, how do you decide who goes onto your bill, especially on the more emerging artist level?
So it's definitely a created music lineup, and it's definitely cross-genre. We have 4 music stages on site. From the emerging artists, it's definitely about the live for us. It doesn't matter at what stage a band's at. We really need the live to be good, because I have about 6 slots per stage per day. The first band will go on at 11:10, which is kind of crazy for most festivals. They're like, what are you doing? But actually...
Well, the kids have already been up for 6 hours, right?
Exactly.
If they went to sleep at all.
Yeah, exactly. That's true. And so parents want to see something. They want to, they're music fans. And so the emerging artists, I love it when we book. I was talking to someone about this last week. You might go to a festival or a gig and you've gone to see that particular band or group of bands. But actually, when you come away from it and you've walked into a random tent and you've seen this emerging artist first or second on, that's what you talk about all weekend. That's what you come away from, and you say, actually, that band was ace. So I love that when we really invest in that. We go to see a lot of music acts across the year, a lot of different places, lots of different venues, kind of across the country, showcases, and yeah, it's tough in terms of picking the right act for sure. But yeah.
Do you book stuff that you haven't seen, and in those cases, is that down to you getting some quality live footage, or where you can get a bit of a sense for what they're like in action?
Yeah, I definitely use kind of live footage if I don't know, if we haven't seen a band. We do have an apply to play scheme, which is in its 2nd year now. So obviously a lot of those bands we haven't seen play live, and especially it goes live in March. We had 1,000 applicants last year, so trying to narrow that down is, it's quite tricky.
Are you listening to all 1,000 yourself?
No. For that, we have about a team of 4 people outside of the organisation who help with that. I have too much to do by March.
Katch, what about Knockengorroch?
Yeah, I've never counted the number of submissions actually. It's some job that someone's actually counted them. So we also have a submissions process through the website, and I have someone else who will sort of do the first listen for me and just kind of pick out stuff that's kind of short, long list stuff really, because it's stuff that's obviously not relevant. And that would be one massive tip is, I think every festival or event appreciates when you know that you can show that you know that festival. You've maybe been, but you don't have to have been, but you've maybe just had a little look at what they've had on in the past, and that what you're doing is right for that festival. Because if I know the person is applying, knows Knockengorroch, maybe he's been before as a punter and has listened to that kind of music, I'm so much more likely to book them, because I know they're going to have a good time. And musicians having a good time means audiences having a good time, means a great festival. So showing that you've researched a festival is so important. The other thing is everyone who books is different, and the funny thing is you're like, oh, don't badger. I don't actually mind if you badger me, because otherwise I might forget. So there is no rules. So, some people will get annoyed if you badger them. Other people are like, fair enough, I didn't answer. They're badgering me, and sometimes I better answer them because all the timing's right now, and I am ready for that band, but at that point, I wasn't in that point in my programming. So that's hard for people applying, but there is no art or sort of science to it. It's an art. Yeah, that was it, I think. What else did you say?
I mean, are there any things that you particularly like? I mean, do you like having live footage, or does that make a difference if you've not seen the band before? Or do you look at things like social media or streaming figures? Does that play any role in your booking at emerging level?
Well, I would say the submission part of it, the application part, is really important. And from our side as programmers, I think what's really important is how you lay out the form and what the questions are. And we've done the submissions now for years at Kelburn. We've learned to, look at the quality and the variety of submissions, and then tweak the form accordingly. When one of the fields in the application form that we put in is, please give us your favorite song or your favorite video, and you can tell a lot by what the artist thinks is the favorite video. One example is that if it's 10 years old, well, if it's 10 years old, then come on, So we're looking for artists who are definitely current and are doing something in the now, and they're not relying on a video that's 10 years old, for example. So, and then the same goes for all the social media, etc. I think it needs to be a band who are, or an artist who is active now and is very much in the process of doing some good things, in this year. So that's a big part of it for us, certainly. Yeah.
Would the rest of you mind if someone just didn't do social media? I mean, I'm noticing a lot with the young team that folk are actually just getting fed up with it all and doing physical flyering or just email lists or mailing lists.
I don't think it's like a must for us. There's plenty of established artists that are not great in their social media as well. Obviously, they maybe have to work slightly less hard to shift the tickets, but no, I don't think so. I think whatever way the band wants to present themselves, as long as they're consistent with it, yeah.
I was just going to say that I booked a band last year that just didn't have social media, and they had a mailing list though, a really good mailing list, and we just worked together throughout the year on kind of cross promotion of stuff, and they were an emerging artist as well. I don't, as much as I do look at social media figures, I actually do not care about how many likes you've got or followers you've got. I really don't care anymore.
How much do you pay an emerging artist? Do you have a flat rate? Or not just the payment, I mean, do they get fed? Do they get somewhere to stay? How does it work? Michelle, I'll start with you. You were looking a bit...
Can of worms.
I'm not telling you how much I'm paying anyone. But no, we are fair. I know that we are fair in what we pay. And when it's an emerging artist, I would pay a set amount per person in the band. On top of that, regardless of where you are on the bill, the offer is a fee, foot passenger ferry tickets, accommodation for one night. Obviously, you can't leave the island after you've performed, regardless if it was 2 o'clock in the afternoon or 8 o'clock at night. So that is the offer that gets sent to you, which is, yes, we do feed them as well. They get looked after incredibly well by our hospitality team, one of which is in the audience tonight. And so they are. I think that we are a particularly fair festival in terms of fees and looking after an artist when they come to us. They do have to make quite a journey to get to us, right enough.
Chris, what's the kind of standard? Do you have a standard?
There isn't a standard. I mean, the way that we book a lot of acts, we have, I think, it ends up on my database, maybe up to 200 acts per festival, DJs and live. The program is more broken down into budgets per slots, and that's how I try and manage things without getting out of control. But every slot has a budget from £50 or £100 up to X amount. So the way I try and see it is this band going to, if it's an emerging act or whatever, are they going to afford to get here and spend the weekend on site? Extracurricular activities, to the side. are they going to afford to be at the festival and not lose money, or cover the cost from the fees? So I think that's, try and avoid pay to play. It's difficult with so many slots to fill, but yeah, that's going to be the bottom line, is trying to avoid pay to play.
So what they get a camping spot? Or
They get a camp, so
food?
they get food tokens, the drinks right on the stage, etc. Camping spot, and well looked after by our fantastic artist liaison team, and places to chill, and great service from our stage technicians, etc. They feel they're having a great time at the festival. I think that's a big part of it.
Catch.
So, I mean, look, what we pay or don't pay our artists ranges from you've paid for a ticket but you're getting a slot because you want to play, to tens of thousands of pounds for someone who's very famous. The way I see it is it's like any self-employed profession. Okay, if you want a contract, you have to think about how much do you want that? How much are you going to get from that? How much are you going to give to that? How much is it worth you doing at this stage in your career? Okay, so if you have just picked up the fiddle and you're wanting to make a band and do lots of things, but you haven't actually got a name, you haven't got a website, you haven't made any records, maybe just a slot for free is the right thing for you, because it is a difficult industry to standardize, the music industry. And the truth of the matter is probably no independent festival would exist if it wasn't heavily reliant on people who are doing it for the love, and they're doing it in their startup times when they can't charge as much. So I think it's really important that artists, because I also am an agent, so I see it from the other side of the fence, so I have to approach promoters on behalf of artists, so I also see the other side of it. And I think it's very easy to become quite emotional and get quite angry about money issues, and sometimes it's like, look, is it right for you? If it's not right for you, don't do it. Don't do it for nothing, or do it for 50 quid, or do it for 100 quid, or do it for 2 tickets. But maybe it is right for you, because maybe what you'll get at that in terms of experience or exposure. Anyway, so in terms of what we give artists, it ranges, but yes, drinks, food, tickets, and hopefully fees of a sort. And like Chris, we would aim to pay, for somebody to come to not have to pay to come and play. But, in some stages, it may happen. And
I think just to be clear, though, I mean, you're not going. The traditional pay-to-play thing was, they'd have to sell a bunch of tickets, and the promoter would take a huge chunk of that, and they didn't sell enough tickets. The artist would essentially be out of pocket, right? I mean, what you're talking about is that, if they're coming down from, I don't know, Thurso or Wick or something down to the southwest of Scotland, then that's going to be expensive, so it's not going to be likely to be covered by the fee. But I mean, you're not talking about anyone giving you money to come and play.
no, when I say pay to play, I mean we don't want it to cost you to come and play.
Yeah.
So you might not be making money, but it's not costing you money to come. Yeah, that's what we aim to avoid.
I think that's a really noble starting point. I mean, what are the kind of misconceptions do you find with those sorts of things? You've already touched on it, but I think it is quite an important point. And I think it is also good to go from that to really examples of where emerging artists have played your festivals and have really made it work for themselves, and what kind of examples there are of that. I mean, are there any things where you find there's just unrealistic expectations?
Well, on the flip side, I guess one thing I should have added to the previous answer there, with regards to Kelburn, is actually the exposure, but in a different way. We have a very large media team, 30-strong media team. Every act gets photographed at Kelburn, and we also have a fabulous website. So every artist, no matter how small, gets a profile on our website, which can then be used actually as a profile to be shared. So it's amazing how many Scottish acts I see on the internet whose profile picture or a promo pic is a photo from a stage at Kelburn, and I think that is actually a great thing that they can get out of that, and they're really high quality pictures. So I forgot what the actual question was there, but yeah, that's an important part of the.
Yeah, I think just misconceptions about events from, arts managers, agents even. I mean, what do you find that there's certain things that you have to disabuse people of on a regular basis, Michelle?
I think just with the agents, our location can sometimes not be appreciated in terms of the distance that a band might have to travel to get to us. That is not for everyone, but there are some agents that might pitch bands that, oh, they're playing in Dumfries the night before you or whatever, and it's like, okay, but they'll have to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning to catch the ferry or something like that. But yeah, no, nothing major, I wouldn't say.
Megan, does anything occur to you?
I was just thinking about, I mean, just going back to kind of artist fees, we've always come from a place that all bands should. I think I come from an arts background as well, so I've always booked comedy, and so I know what a solo comedian is getting paid on the stage. And then I took the music over 3 years ago, so that was quite a transition actually, because then you've got 5 people in the band, they've got to get there with the van, they've probably got to hire the van. There was a band this year who I wanted to book on the Friday of Deershed, but then he came back to me and was like, we can't because we have jobs. And I was like, totally fair. I wanted you to open the main stage, but okay, I'll move you to a different day. But we don't. Sometimes I even don't think about that. And I was thinking about how actually maybe obviously we couldn't afford to do this, but actually should there be a set rate for performance? And then actually there should be thinking about actually how many hours is it taking out of that person's time to come to the festival? And some bigger festivals should maybe be thinking about that. On top, Glastonbury.
Yeah, should we flip that round and say, should there be a set rate for festival organizers and people that are running it? Well, festivals people often don't get paid or have to take enormous risks. I mean, it's, I guess Kelburn the first few years was perhaps an example of that, right?
I mean, any passion project, there's risks involved, and there's lack of payment and lack of sleep and all the rest of it. So it's the same with Katch's bands who, is this right for you to come and play for 2 tickets? I mean, you know what you're getting yourself into, I think, So no one's being forced to be involved in, in a situation where you're trying to get something off the ground that is a creative, moonshot, for example.
What examples have you got of people performing at your festival that are starting out and really making good use of it, and perhaps coming back in subsequent years, having built an audience via the festival?
For us, I'll speak about specifically local artists, and I kind of include myself in this. I'm not a performer, do not put me on a stage, but just having that festival in your local town, growing up and seeing that festival was amazing for me to aspire to run events, but also for the musicians to get on the stage as well. So every year we offer a slot to the Faish kids, so they always get a slot on our Saturday on the island stage, which is 2,000 capacity stage, and it's their first experience of using professional sound operators and having a PA and being on a stage in front of an audience. And so many musicians have come through, not just that project, but other projects on the island, and are now performing in established bands around the world. And maybe might not have done that if they hadn't had that big stage on their doorstep, which is quite unique to the Outer Hebrides. So from that point of view, we've got lots and lots of success stories from Lewis and beyond, from Face the West, Colin MacLeod. I could name hundreds of musicians from the Outer Hebrides that have played a HebCelt. And with our 30th year next year, I'm going to try and do a big focus on that as well. So hopefully we will see more locals on the stage.
Chris, I mean, you mentioned that you have something like 200 acts on. I mean, how do you, if you're one of those and you're perhaps one of the lesser known ones, how do you make the best of the opportunity? Have you got any examples of people coming up with really creative ideas around that?
I mean, obviously I don't see all of the bands playing, but we're not looking for fireworks. We're looking for a band or an artist to come and play their best set and do what they do, and express themselves how they want to express themselves. So,
I mean, obviously that's a given. I guess I'll move it on to you guys. If I've been at events where people have come up to me or they've interacted with people, they've gone out and really gone around the festival site making themselves known. I mean, we even had these guys, Canadian guys, that had these really strange band actually, but really ended up being quite the hit because they just wandered around in these cowboy hats around Edinburgh and got loads of people to hang out with them basically.
At Deershed, merch is a big thing, and so when bands engage with the audience before and after the show, and then stay on site and walking around, I know some bands have done like little badges that they're giving away after the show. They obviously, you're building that audience, aren't you, and that live audience, and we definitely noticed we're about a 50-minute drive from Leeds, so we have a definite correlation between a band playing at Deershed, definitely like a first or second slot on the bill, and then going on tour and audiences booking their tour. It's happening. So I do think you need to make an impression on site. Live is important, but also engaging your audience. We've had mad things happen where kids have been on stage and stuff like that.
Yeah.
What sort of mad things?
Kids all over this.
Do you want to think about it, or have you got an example off the top of the
Just
head?
things like, the band Big Special, they went into the audience, they gave the drum kit to the kid, and then they just started playing. And then we've had like Yard Act where James Smith has his trench coat on. There was a kid in the crowd with his trench coat on, got him on stage, started doing it was that kind of, those little moments as well where it's great for us in terms of social media. You're making musicians for the future, I always think, with things like that, but also the band's getting a bigger following. Great.
You just reminded me of a strange thing that happened actually, where we had Vieux Facatore, who's a Malian artist, performing, and someone in the audience actually handed him their baby in the middle of the show.
They just had
He
enough of the
leaned
baby.
forward to say hi, and they got a baby. So talking of feral kids, I was just going to say, so we have lots of open mic slots and busking slots, like if you can, like play more than once, if you can and you want to, because I always remember the example of a band called Banana Sessions, who some of you might remember, were an Edinburgh band from back in the day, and they came and got a gig at Knockengorroch, and seriously, they played everywhere. You could hardly walk through the festival without seeing the bloody Banana Sessions again. They made flyers. They were literally everywhere, and they swept the board like they were everywhere. Banana Sessions after that, they had gigs. Everyone has heard of Banana Sessions, and they really were an example of a band that had fully taken full opportunity of that, because they started off in the early days doing stuff at Knockengorroch. Like we were one of their first sort of breaks, as it were.
Actually, that's a good question. Is there anyone that you put on when they were not well known that are now really famous?
Jacob Allen.
Nice.
Do you want me to expand on that or no?
Well, if
That
you've got an
doesn't need
interesting
it.
story
Well,
about them, yeah.
I definitely, so when I saw Jacob, they were just playing in a little room somewhere years ago. And then, so it was just kind of at the end of my programming year. So we had this little tiny slot on like our tiniest stage. I said, would you come play? Yes. And then we were like, right, full band main stage next year. Yes. And then, it's great, isn't it? It's fab. And then they also did this secret set on site last year with Round Our Fire. We do secret sessions, Round a Fire, and it was ace. So, yeah.
The one that comes to mind now is, I guess, Corto Alto, who's been one of the bands that Kelburn's really helped nurture over the years. We've now even started an event based around, partly based around Corto Alto, the Kelburn Jazz Weekend. But circle back to that last question, actually, one thing that does come to mind there is actual collaboration. Kelburn, I think, in particular for the Scottish scene, Kelburn's really, there's no other time of year when so many young, amazing, enthusiastic, creative people come together in one place. So actually, the amount of, and I don't see much of it, working my ass off all weekend, but I know the amount of collaboration and meetings and musical mind meltings that happen over the course of the weekend must be so massive and intense, and you can see it in some of the releases that come out afterwards as well, so that does give one, tremendous pride when you see a release after the festival that clearly was born somewhere in the Glen at Kelburn, so that definitely happens. That's a big part of it for sure.
Has anyone ever kind of met and got married at any of your have you had any festival
Definitely.
romances?
Definitely
Yeah, we've got loads of those.
Any sort of conceptions?
My goddaughter was conceived at Knockengorroch Festival.
Excellent. There you go. Sorry, I did warn the speakers that I might think of random questions on the spot, and that was certainly one of them. Right, so obviously you're independent. How do you survive, and what is your ownership structure? How do you keep an independent festival afloat?
By selling tickets, pretty much. So we are a non-profit charitable trust. Our aim is to break even every year. If we make any money, it goes back into the festival and into the community and providing what we can. We offered free family concerts for those kind of young ears to start listening to music in a environment that is open for the chaos of kids. We'll maybe expand it to the main stage one day. But yeah, public funding, our bar sales, our ticket sales, and sponsorship, whether that's in kind or financial. But yeah, if we break even, we're delighted.
Megan, how does it work with Deershed?
Ticket sales and bar sales. So yeah, we don't get any funding. So we are limited company. That's how we've always been. So it has been really, there have been really tough times in the last 5 years, but we've just managed to scrape through, really.
Knockengorroch is a community interest company, so non-profit making, anything that we make over and above goes back into projects that benefit the festival, like some of the venues that we have, like our turf roof stage or our longhouse venue. But yeah, I mean, looping back around to what we were talking about people being paid in the team, it's a high risk game. Running an independent festival, is not an easy task. It's not easy being a musician, but I think sometimes when you're on the musician side, you forget all the challenges that the festivals are also under. And I can promise you, I've never met an independent festival organizer that wants to rip a musician off. Never. So it's like need be sometimes. But we do it for the love, and we do it for the passion, and I think it's really important that independent festivals continue to exist. But yeah, it's been hard lately, and we don't know what the future holds at the moment, so yeah.
Chris, how does it work with Kelburn?
Well, Kelburn's a slightly, maybe not hugely unusual, but obviously it takes place at Kelburn Castle. So the director of the festival, sole director, which is David Boyle, who, like I said earlier, is the heir to the land. So it's a limited company, and it exists solely on tickets, almost solely on ticket sales and bar sales, a little bit of funding there. So the Niven and Glen that I mentioned earlier as well, the arts project has actually just been incorporated as a charity. So it's probably going to be an evolution how things move over the course of years, and how the festival and the charity coexist, and how the festival and the charity and the estate also coexist. Like a lot of these things, it's year on year, it's hand to mouth. We're just gonna, continue to work it out for everyone's benefit.
I think we'll keep it maybe running for a couple of minutes just to see if anyone has a question. Marley.
While we're waiting for a microphone, can I just say as well, just to touch on the people being paid, we are purely led on volunteers. We have over 200 volunteers. We absolutely could not run without them. And so I just want to say thank you to all of them, because we've got a green team, our stage managers are volunteers, we've got Gaelic team that are volunteers, loads of volunteers. So we absolutely couldn't run our festival without volunteers.
On the very rare occasion that I'm filling out a application for a festival, I might be filling out 3 or 4 at one time, and it can be quite strenuous, because a lot of time it's during January where we're all trying to wind down and the whole world's not doing much except hibernating. But please, please, please don't put in your application forms, why do you want to play said festival? It's like, if I didn't want to play, I wouldn't bother applying in the first place.
That bit is so important to me, because you can see if they've copied and pasted it, because sometimes it's another festival, and that's maybe, sometimes they actually quote it. And that's okay, because everyone's busy and you have to apply for lots of festivals, fair enough. But it's more about, do they really want to play at this one? And I know that maybe you don't, and maybe you do just need loads of gigs, but honest truth is we want people who definitely want to play our festival. That's the truth.
This kind of leads me on another thing. Is there a capacity for people to apply by audio or by video for your different play functions?
that would be handy.
Ours is actually very basic. I'm learning. It's just an email address that you can send whatever you want to. But I think I'm going to look into doing the form off the back of this, because that would be much easier for me to have a look through everything. But if you sent a video or an audio, I would listen to it. I would watch it.
Because I mean, we've opened that up for I think 2 or 3 years now, where all our applications can be submitted by audio or video, which does make it easier for people in that respect. I mean, that's one last thing that, you know, I'd like to touch on that I think we'd alluded to briefly, but I think that the overall accessibility, particularly for audiences and for artists and accessibility riders, I mean, to what extent are you able to accommodate those, or to what extent do you already do it?
I think for artists, it's a case-by-case basis. Well, obviously, if an artist has extra needs, we'll try and accommodate it. If it's not possible, then we'll be honest about that. For the punters, again, the nature of the site will dictate a lot about it. Kelburn's lucky in one regard that it's a country centre and it's got pathways. There's very little mud at Kelburn even when it rains, but then you've also got the glen as well, which is impossible in a wheelchair. So we're very straight up on our FAQs and our TNCs about that, you know, and all the information's there. And it's important that you are upfront and you give as much information as you can in advance to people.
Yeah, pretty much the same with the artists. For us, it would be case by case, but we would be accommodating as much as we possibly can be with anyone. For our audience, we are really good with that, as much as our site allows. We've got accessibility ambassador who advises us on the best processes for various disabilities. We have got a team of, again, volunteers, and the Macmillan Cancer Research send a team of their staff as well, and they'll assist with wheelchairs getting around the site. We've got platforms in both our stages. We've got a service that you can park and we will run people down. We've got a vehicle that is accessible that will bring people to our festival site from the parking. So we try and accommodate as much as we possibly can.
What's it like with Deershed?
We have a accessibility campsite with accessibility manager, and we also have kind of sensory zones, because it can be quite overloading for when you're on a festival site. So we have kind of different zones. We're growing that this year, actually, working with organisations that are professional in that area. In terms of artists, obviously, if it's not on their rider, we also do have, when they're filling out, if a tour manager or someone from the band is filling out a form, we have kind of a space to say, tell us if you need anything else, if there's anything that we can do that has with access requirements, and we'll just accommodate. We're lucky with our infrastructure and backstage that we do have accessible toilets. It's lucky.
Yep. With artists, case-by-case basis, we have free carer tickets for audiences, and we have an accessibility contact on our website. So we try to be as clear as possible about what there is. But if you need anything, you email for your free carer ticket. You email if you have any extra special needs, and we have accessible campsites, camping areas close to the main arena, or if you need to be far away from the arena. I mean, one of the benefits of being a smaller festival is that you are able to cater more personally for needs. So it's very bespoke, I guess. Yeah.
Okay, very quickly, and it's got to be a question.
Yeah. Okay, good. Yeah, sorry. It's just a very quick question. For anybody who's looking to in future set up their own festivals, myself, what is a hidden cost that has came up that most people won't expect? Because I know there's things looking into. There's like insurance, there's security, there's like health and safety portal. I don't know, something there within there. Just I don't know if there's any of those that people should think about.
What was the thing that was super expensive that you hadn't expected?
Well, we had to cancel our very first festival because of the police bill. I mean, you say hidden costs, it should be hidden costs. I mean, they can come from anywhere, really. So, but yeah, for us, I mean, I think a lot of it is, where and when you're doing it, who you're targeting. So environment will factor in there.
Yeah, environment is a big thing. I mean, where is it? You know, is it in the middle of nowhere? Is it in a city? Is it in a wee town? Is it on an island? Production is the biggest thing for us, or also, for example, weather, bad weather. So more and more now events are having to mitigate for extreme weather conditions because of climate change. And we actually had a drought. First time in 27 years we ran out of water on site. So we had to bring in big water bowsers, which cost us thousands of pounds and had never happened before. Obviously from now on we will be writing that into our plan, but unexpected things like that. But that's environmental as well, because if we'd been in a city, that probably wouldn't have happened.
Yeah, probably for us, just the same as you, and haulage as well, because of where we are, our location. We spend a great deal of money on haulage and just bringing everything up. Our PA system, our staging, our lights all come from the mainland to the island. Protecting the ground that we're on as well and looking after the site, so we give it back to the people that own it, the same as when we got it. Yeah, there'll always be something that'll pop up that you've maybe not accounted for, but just try and stick with it.
There are so many hidden costs with festivals. I don't want to put you off. I'm trying to think of all the good things. I think there's a lot of infrastructure that needs to be put in place. If you're taking over a field, you've got to think about the power and that water supply, but there's also fencing and things to keep people out and in, and then thinking about ticketing and marketing your festival. Get a license before you do anything.
Okay, well, I think on that note, thanks everyone who's tuned in.